Hello again, guys. Long time no see. Sorry about that. I know I say that a lot, but I do mean it every time. I have a bit of an interesting product to talk to you about today. A little while back, I backed something on Kickstarter called the Legion Meter. Didn't think a whole lot about it, kind of figured it might just be vaporware. I know the company had made other products, so I knew it was gonna come, I just didn't know what it was gonna do. But today, we're gonna get to find out, because this showed up just a couple of days ago. Haven't had time to really do anything with it. Lots of other stuff going on. But this is the Legion Meter, and effectively what it is a 3 or 4-in-1 product. It's a charge accelerator, a multimeter, as well as a data protection device. And if you can't tell by looking at the front of it, it kind of looks like a USB thumb drive, a USB stick of some sort. So I thought I would just open it up for you, show you what it is, what it looks like and everything, and if I can, try to get a little bit of footage of it in use. So effectively, what this device is, most of the time when you plug your phone directly into a USB port on a PC, for example, you're not going to get the fastest possible charge that your phone will accept, which kind of sucks, but that is to be expected. So normally when you plug it into a laptop, you're going to get the lower charging speed. You're not going to get what you'd get out of a 1 or a 2 amp wall wart even. This thing is supposed to circumvent that. Now, because there is something in here that's in the line, it is going to interfere a little bit, so you may not be able to get the absolute maximum charging speed, but you should be able to get pretty close to it. And the good thing is you should be able to measure what you're getting out of it as well, because it does have different displays on it. It shows here in the little booklet, it shows you the current wattage, the current amps, the current volts that are being pulled out, also the milliwatt hours of the battery in question. So like if you're plugging it into a phone, it should show you how many milliamp hours. It says milliwatt hours. I guess that's the same as milliamp hours, or maybe that's what they're calling it. I thought it was going to say milliamp hours, but we'll see what happens when it comes up. But you can go between those things. You can set it to Apple or Android mode, and you can also set it to accelerated or data pass-through mode. And if I could ever figure out how to open this package, it would be dangerous. To the pocket knife! So yeah, as I was saying, there's a little switch on the side of it that you can use to say, go in the full acceleration mode or go into the data pass-through mode. So it actually gives you that little bit of a proxy, not proxy, but a protection layer there as well. So far, I've seen it one time now. It's an interesting design. It's not flat or anything, so I'm not sure how this will do with really, really thin laptops, but my laptop is not terribly thin, so it shouldn't be a problem. Here on this side, we do have the A and D switch. It's quite recessed, so I'm a little concerned about that, meaning I'm having a lot of trouble actually flipping the switch. I'm guessing I'm going to have to use something else to flip that, pocket knife, ink pen, something like that. But if you want it to charge at the absolute fastest possible, you have to flip it over to the A mode, which actually physically circumvents some of the USB cabling inside so that it cannot pass data through, it just does charging. And then here on the top we have a little button. That little button should be able to swap back and forth between modes, maybe swap back and forth between display. So yeah, let me go ahead and plug this into something and we'll just see what it looks like and see what it does, right? Alright, so here I've got the Legion meter hooked up to a USB cable, which is plugged into the NVIDIA Shield. I'm going to go ahead and plug it into this USB 4-prong adapter thing from Bose. They sent this out to me to test out, and I've used it here and there over the past few months, but I wanted to show you what happens when we plug the Legion meter in. So there you go, if you can see it. It says 5.0203 volts, and then you can tap on the button, and it switches over, shows 0.45 amps, current out 1.18, so it's kind of ramping up, 1.25. So yeah, it's definitely not pulling 2 amps or anything, but that's probably sticking around the max that the Shield can handle. I'll hit it again. It says it's taking about 6 watts out. And if I hit it again, this shows milliwatt hours. I'm wondering if that's showing what the Shield currently has, or if that's what it's transferred. Because when I plugged it up just a second ago just to make sure it all worked, and it started at 0. So I don't think the Shield is quite at that point when I plugged it in. But anyway, the last thing there, Android mode. It was in Apple mode. If you just hold the button here, it switches back over. It makes a little click sound too, which is interesting. So let's switch it back. There we go, Android mode. And we're back to the 5 volts. Now actually, one thing I mentioned before, it is still on this, and I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, it's on the D mode, the data mode. So I'm going to go ahead and switch it over real quick to the accelerated charging mode, and we'll see if any of those numbers change. So yeah, it took me just a minute. I tried a couple of different things. I didn't want to mess up this port or anything. What I ended up settling on was a bent paper clip. And if I come in here, I can actually, there we go. It took a little bit of pressure, and it's very difficult to do, so I'm not a huge fan of that. I almost wish it were a flush switch with a little ridge on it that you could use. But let's just see what happens when I plug this in. Hopefully nothing catches on fire, he says as the room burns up. Alright, so it says 5 volts still. Wouldn't expect any different, really. And that's interesting. When we went over to the, okay, so it went up to 1.2. So yeah, in this situation, it doesn't appear to be using anything extra. It is exactly the same numbers we saw before. So what I might do now is go ahead and plug this into a desktop or a laptop maybe, and just see what happens with a laptop. All right, and so for sake of comparison here, I have my laptop. It's the Lenovo ThinkPad Twist. I've got the Legion meter. I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the USB port. If I can do this one-handed. There we go. It says Legion meter. 4.77 volts, 0.47, 0.45 amps, something like that. So significantly slower than it was on the, or lower than it was on the Pulse charger. 2.2 or 2.25 watts, about max. And it's slowly increasing there. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and pull this off again. We'll switch back over to the accelerated mode. And after a bit of a hassle, we're in the accelerated mode now. Let's go ahead and plug it back in. And actually, just so you can see, this is how it looks with a relatively thin laptop. It's decently flush. With a larger laptop, I'm sure it would work a little better. With a thinner laptop, it might be a problem. There we go, 4.79 volts. But now you see it says 0.7 instead of, I think it was 0.3 or 0.4 earlier. So it's definitely a lot higher amperage, 3.4, 3.5 almost watts. So it's definitely charging significantly faster. Still not full speed what it's capable of doing, but it's coming out of a laptop that's not plugged into the wall at the moment, so I wouldn't really expect it to do a lot. But this is, let's see, 0.4 to, I don't know, it's about a 50%, 60% increase. And that's, you know, just based on what it's telling me. That's not necessarily to say that it's 100% accurate, but just going based on the meter here, it seems to get the job done. It seems to be doing something at least. So yeah, that was an interesting little first test. I'll be interested to see what you guys have to say about this, what you think about it. Really, one of the reasons I was interested in it was to sort of see what power draw my devices were using, to be able to take a look at these external batteries and external chargers that I've been going through and see exactly what kind of amperage they're putting out. If they say that they're smart and they're capable of going from like 0.5 amps up to 2.5 amps, I want to make sure they're actually able to do that or something close to that. So this will be nice for that. I did just take a look at the book here, and the milliwatt hours, it says it's resettable milliwatt hours to diagnose battery storage capacity. So if you're starting from like 20%, and then you see the milliwatt hours is, you know, oh, it's only 2,500. Well, my device is supposed to have 3,000. Well, if you're at 20% when you start and you get to the end, and that makes a little bit more sense now. Still would be nice to be able to get an off-the-shelf, you know, here's a reading of exactly the milliwatt hours it's in, or milliamp hours is what I would prefer, in your device right now. But that definitely will get you started. I guess my biggest gripes with it at this point are that switch, the accelerated to data pass-through switch. Not a huge fan of that, but I will probably leave it in the accelerated mode, because if I want to plug in and transfer data, I'll plug in and transfer data. It's not that big of a deal. Maybe the little button could be up a little bit higher, but I know if it were higher, it would be it might get in the way or something. It might catch on stuff in your bag. So that's probably the reasoning behind the dip switch on the side instead of having an actual clicky flip switch. But other than that, like you saw earlier, it appeared to work pretty well. It appeared to get the job done. So I'll definitely be using this in testing with various batteries and external chargers that I've got. Let me know if there's anything you'd like to see me test with it, and I will be back with you for that. It looks like, just in case you're curious, on the PLX Devices website, it runs about $69, which I would say is very, very steep for this, unless it's something where you're going to be doing that kind of testing all day, every day. In my case, I paid $39 for it on Kickstarter. I'm decently pleased with it for that price because, like I said, I can use it on a bevy of devices to test out the various voltage and amperage and everything it puts out, and to accelerate PC ports if I end up wanting to use it for that case. Yeah, anyway. So yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'll be back at you again very soon. I've got a bunch of little reviews, or big reviews, that I need to do over the next few weeks, so be on the lookout for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, though, and I'll see you again next time.